Thousands of federal government employees are working without pay or furloughed as talks of layoffs loom during the government shutdown. Congress won't even come together and vote again until tomorrow afternoon because of the observance of the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur today. And joining us this morning to discuss is North Carolina Republican Congressman Mark Harris. Good morning to you, sir. Welcome back to the National News Desk.
Good morning, Jan. Thank you for having me this morning.
Yesterday, Senator Rand Paul said he believes this shutdown is going to be short-lived. And you had Senator Ted Cruz, who said it's going to be weeks or longer. What do you think? What's happening right now behind the scenes in the halls of Congress?
Well, it's hard to say what the link's going to be because that question ultimately has to be placed at the feet of Chuck Schumer. This is a shutdown that the Democrats chose to enter into. We took care of business in the House a couple of weeks ago now, it'll be 2 weeks, I guess, this Friday, since we passed the continuing resolution that would take and keep the government open at least until November 21st to give us the time that we needed to continue moving appropriation bills. But we knew this was coming, and the Senate had the simple opportunity to simply pass this resolution. And the interesting thing is the majority of the Senate has passed it, wants it to go. But because of that filibuster rule and needing 60 votes, they've just been keeping the government shut down. And I really don't know how long they're going to play this game. But I do know that the president's not sitting still. As we saw in the earlier tweet, Russ Vought is meeting with him today. And we're just going to continue to function and do the things that we need to do. I
want to talk to you about that in a minute. But first, I want to talk about Chuck Schumer, because you said this all falls on him. What's your message to Schumer and your Democratic colleagues who say they will not accept any bill that does not also extend Obamacare tax subsidies that were enhanced, as we know, during the Biden administration, during the COVID pandemic?
Well, again, the unreasonableness of that position, I think all of the American people are beginning to recognize it. The reality is those subsidies don't expire till December 31st. We have time to go back. Keeping the government open, moving appropriation bills are things that we ought to be able to do. And we're going to begin to do those. And just him choosing to keep the government shut down and choosing to put all of these people at risk is ludicrous. And it's not lost on the American people, for sure.
You talked about Russell Vought. Is this an opportunity to slim down the federal government?
Oh, I think it's going to turn out to be. I mean, we've made it very clear that reduction in workforce, if this thing continues. I mean, listen, he has the unenviable position of having to keep the government running. And so he's in a position that he's having to just make decisions each day. And I think obviously the workforce, some 750,000 federal employees are obviously at risk. And this is an opportunity, no doubt, to begin to shrink the size of government. And that's something that needs to be done. The fact that Schumer has handed this opportunity to us, I'm really fascinated by that.
Before I let you go, I want to ask you about that rare congressional hearing that was held in your home state of North Carolina and the gut-wrenching testimony of the father who blames lawmakers for soft on-crime policies similar to what happened in your state that freed his daughter's suspected killer, who had been arrested and charged with dozens of felonies. Let's listen to 22-year-old Logan Federico's father describing what happened the night she was killed.
Think about your child coming home from a night out with their friends, laying down, going to sleep, feeling somebody come in the room and wake them and drag her out of bed, naked, forced on her knees with her hands over her head, begging for her life. Bang! Dead. Gone. Why? Because Alexander Devontae Dickey, who was arrested 39 times, 25 felonies, was on the street. He was committing 2.65 crimes a year since he was 15 years old, but nobody could figure out that he couldn't be rehabilitated. Well, you'd have to put him in prison to see if he could be rehabilitated.
That was just gut-wrenching to watch, especially as a parent. I'm sure you can relate. When you heard this, what went through your mind? Why was her suspected killer on the streets?
Jan, I was in that room, as you said, and it was gut wrenching. I mean, the job that her father Stephen did in really painting the picture of that night was absolutely unbelievable. And I will never forget that testimony, and I will never forget Logan's story, having been there and heard that and sensed that. You're exactly right. These soft on crime policies that we have seen that are taking place in our major cities have got to be dealt with. And as I listened to that, we had obviously gathered to talk about Irina Zarutska, who, again, her killer had been arrested 14 times and spent 5 years in prison, and yet set before a magistrate. And that magistrate simply had him sign a statement almost just a month before he walked onto that train. And she innocently sat down in front of him, and then he stabbed her to death. But then to hear this story that this guy had been arrested 39 times, 25 felonies, and yet he was still on the streets. This is inexcusable, and there must be something done. I'm glad to say that the state legislature in North Carolina is working diligently. We've introduced a couple of bills at the federal level that are going to deal with this whole cashless bail issue. Something's got to be done, and these parents who have suffered this incredible loss are turning that pain into something positive to get something done, and I'm very grateful to them.
North Carolina Congressman Mark Harris, great to talk to you this morning. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.